is the Legend Pool and MLB the Show 24. I almost said 21. Too small. Or do we not have enough diversification, or what have you, in this game? So I decided, let's sort of break things down, sort of look at what everything we got is, and answer the question, do we need more legends? Are there enough? Do we just not have enough diversity when it comes to cards? And what I think is the actual answer, which is a lot more boring and less exciting than what we actually want to believe, because I think it's kind of an awkward, false correlation here, that people don't actually know what they want, but I'll get into that in 1 second. Here we go. So I wanted to sort of start things off here. We're going to be going to a handful of places here. First one is we're going to start off with the actual Legends list here, and go from there, right? I suppose, because that's really what we kind of want to see, and then we'll sort of get into the wonkier situations here of what ultimately is, I guess, going on here. But here's the entire list. Okay, here we go. Here's the entire list in its entirety. Okay, so this is everyone we have so far. This is on the Show Zone. You can check it out for yourself. I'll link it down below. You can see here, there's some names. So I'm not gonna read all of them because there's like 100 and something. But we got Roy Halladay, Randy Johnson, Pedro, the big three: Mo, Billy Wagner, Jeter, Larry Walker, David Ortiz, Vladimir Guerrero, Chipper Jones, Frank Thomas, Pudge, Sammy Sosa, Ian Kinsler, David Wright, Alex Gordon, Matt Holliday, Mike Cameron, Ricky Henderson, Tony Gwynn. We just got some cards: Eddie Murray, Mike Piazza, and so on and so forth as we go all the way down here. And there's there's a good amount. Phil Negro. I didn't know they still had Phil Negro. That's a fascinating thing. I don't know. Alrighty then, that's news to me. But as you keep going, you kind of see, like, there's a fair number. There's a list here. It's a pretty extensive list here. Then why do we get stuck with the same sort of weird circumstance? Well, let's talk about it. So this is season 1 full collection. There were 401 cards. I don't know if that was all of them or some of them, but let's just assume that was all of them, that all of the cards were at least at the minimum 401 cards. There are 8 pages of stuff. If you were to get everything, it'd be about 401 cards. Here's the thing that I sort of want to, I guess, question's the best thing. Let me ask you this question here. We're going to use Mike Schmidt as an example here. Does Mike Schmidt set your world on fire? For some, absolutely, positively, 120,000%. Mike Schmidt is what gets you up in the morning, right? This is, for Philly fans, this is exciting. I'm not necessarily picking on Phillies fans. But then right next to him, you got Blake Trident. Blake Trident's been an absolute animal for years in this game with the sinker, slider, 4-seam, and a cutter. 2 meta pitches. You can tunnel really well with him. This card will get people up. He's going to be closing. He was used a lot at the end of season 1. He was darn near a lot at the end of season 1, right? And even now with Wildcard, he could still be used. Somebody like this, Eduardo Escobar, wasn't necessarily the greatest card, but he fit a little bit, and all that stuff, right? So you're sort of seeing this here. Now, ultimately, we sort of jump down. Let's jump down here a little bit. Let's go back to this. Let's talk about the CC's Matthew. He was a new legend. I used him quite a bit. He's paralleled 3 for me. I thought he was pretty decent. He was a pretty decent card. Nice little sneaky sneak there. Pretty decent ERA here in 24 innings pitched here at the end of season 1. Not shabby. He might have 2 losses, but that ERA and whip are what we talk about, and, wins and losses don't necessarily matter. There was a Lou Brock and all this stuff. There's the Outlier. You sort of get my point. Now, the thing I want to bring up here as we jump over to season 2, and why I think this is a 2-parter, and what I think the majority of people doesn't know what they want. And I'm not trying to make this sound like a negative thing that I'm trying to be like, the community doesn't know what it wants. But I want to make one point, and this is going to be the big point. Fascinating thing is, you see this Rich Aurelia here. Rich Aurelia is basically got what we like to call basically reprinted. He got 2 cards. He got this 99 this time around, and he had a 95 collection reward, in Season 1. And it was pretty early on. Season 1, Rich Early was 121 cards. It was a 93. So you got a 6+ increase here. He got replaced, right, in Season 2. Now, the interesting part about Season 2 here is if we look at Team Affinity, and I think this is sort of what is really the funky thing here, is if we look at Team Affinity, I know I'm not done with it. I'm going to be grinding after I'm recording this. Don't worry. We're going to get through this. We're going to get it all done. But the thing I want to point out is when you look at the cards they pick here, we're looking at the NL Central. We talk about cards that I think sound good, but in reality aren't that good. Ryan Sandberg's one. Ryan Sandberg, I think, had a very good card in MLB the Show 20. It was easy enough to get. It was a signature series. I think it was a 99. It was pretty good for the time. Granted, it did get phased out. Johnny Bench, I never used a Johnny Bench card. I never got on my way for Johnny Bench cards. Same thing with Ryan Braun and Ralph Kiner. And Orlando Cepeda. Never used him, but I think Orlando Cepeda is newish anyway. The point I'm trying to make here, and why I think when we talk about the lack of legends, I think it's a twofold answer. So I'm going to start with the popular answer here, and that's this. This is slightly almost predictable to a certain degree, right? Cal Ripken getting one of these, David Ortiz getting one. Realistically, I think without Bernie Williams, this would have been Mo. This would have been a Rivera card. But that's here and there. Carlos Pena gets a card here, and the same thing with Carlos Delgado. The reason why I'm saying it's almost predictable is like if previous go around, this would have been Tom Henke. If Tom Henke didn't get a card last time, it would have been Tom Henke now, willing to bet. But they put in Carlos Delgado. This is really the first true Delgado card I think we've gotten this year, which is, put it where it is. Is it disappointing or not? Who knows? But we kind of look at this and we sort of see when it comes to legends, and the reason I'm sort of bringing this up is it sort of feels like a lot of this stuff is slightly almost kind of predictable to a certain degree. When it comes to the Braves, a lot of times it's a safe bet if you were to say it's either Maddox, Smoltz, or Glavine. You're probably going to be right on some fronts, and we got 2 out of 3 came out of Team Affinity anyway, with Glavine last Season 3 and then Maddox this one. Mike Lowell, when it comes to Miami Marlins legends, it kind of comes down to 3 guys. Rob Nen might get a high card from his Marlin days. Gary Sheffield has gotten high cards from his Marlin days. Mike Lowell's gotten one. If they still had Hanley, they'd probably give one to Hanley. But they don't have guys like, Josh Beckett. And then even Al Leiter got, I think, a hyper series from them. So you sort of get the only one that I was kind of questioning was Tom Seaver. Usually don't give out a free Tom Seaver. I like Tom Seaver usually, but I know a lot of people don't. He might have been David Wright, because we haven't had a new David Wright, I don't think, in a good minute. John Kruk, when it comes to the Phillies, I guess it kind of replaced the Mike Schmidt sort of thing and all that fun stuff. And Tim Raines, I think we had a lower Tim Raines, but it wasn't necessarily Vlad, right? So when it comes to just this, I don't think, realistically, here's my thought. Here's my part 1. Do we need more legends? Probably to a degree. Now, here's my caveat to this, and why I think this is sort of where the community doesn't know what it wants. I think if the community was being honest with itself and every card was new legends, right? Let's just say, for instance, I'll pick the AOS because I can rattle off names a little bit quicker here. So let's go in team order. Let's say a new legend for Houston would have been Lance Berkman. First baseman Lance Berkman. For the Angels, it was John Lackey. For the A's, it was Eric Chavez. For the Mariners, it would be Felix Hernandez. And for the Rangers, Mark Teixeira. Those are pretty decent names. Are they all better than the other? I don't know, but one, it gives options. You got realistically, with those cards there, if that was the case, that might make things a little bit more exciting. And you'd want to finish it faster because, Lance, I named people from, I remember when I was a kid. Lance Berkman would have been great. Mark Teixeira, I'd absolutely use, whether it was a Yankee, an Angel, or it's a Ranger. It's a fun time. Heck, if they really wanted to use cards this year, don't get me wrong, I love Torrey Hunter. That we could have had a 99 Mike Napoli. That would have been pretty swag-tastic if you ask me. Or let's go to the NL West. Let's just continue this trend here. What if for Arizona it was? I was gonna say Kurt Schilling, but I know that's a little there. Let's say it's Byung-Hyun Kim is the Diamondbacks one. For the Rockies, let's say, don't get angry at me, Twins fans, Michael Kadire. He had some really good moments when he was in Colorado. For the Dodgers, how about Paul LaDuca? Let's get crazy with it. For the Padres, fan favorite Khalil Green. For the Giants, let's go a little off the rails. Let's say Jeff Kent. Those are pretty exciting names that I think people would use. Looking at the Central, like again, let's just be silly. For the Cubs, I don't know, Carlos Zambrano. He was like a little psycho, but I'm just throwing out names there. Carlos Zambrano. Heck, you could go Derek Lee. Derek Lee's one. For the Reds, I don't know. Jay Bruce is one that comes to mind. I'm almost using names that I've heard other people say. For the Brewers, Ben Sheets would be fun. For the Pirates, Erasmus Ramirez, or heck, Brian Giles. That'd be a fun one. For the Cardinals, you got plenty of guys. For the Cardinals, one of my personal favorites. I would love this. No one else would. David Eckstein. He had some cool moments as a Cardinal, also an Angel. Throw him in there. Heck, you know what everyone will lose their minds for? How about a Chris Carpenter? Chris Carpenter would be fun. And then, like, the AL Central. Let's just go here. Let's go to the AL Central. Let's continue this fun trend in this little exercise. This might just be guys we want to name, we want to put in. For the White Sox, we got, I'm trying to think of Jermaine Dye would be fun. Jermaine Dye had won a World Series there. He has, I think Jermaine Dye was actually a card at one point. Jermaine Dye would be cool. For the Guardians, thinking, we got Grady Sizemore. That was always that was a good one. Corey Kluber retired. I mean, they could bring back Corey Kluber. That'd be a fun one. How about Victor Martinez? He fits both of these. Victor Martinez would be cool. The Tigers, another fun. What was another fun Tiger? Kenny Rogers would be interesting. I think Fernando Rodney or Zamaya would be cool. They're hard throwing pitchers. They would be kind of fun. I'm trying to think of like other random Tigers besides like Victor Martinez and stuff. Those are like the ones that come to my top of my head. Casey, I'm trying off the top of my head. Eric Hosmer would be fun. He just retired, so that'd be a little difficult. Some guys from the past, Mike Sweeney, I think would be kind of cool to have. Just like some fun names. Not every name needs to be some banging like big name. One of the guys they jokingly said on Twitter was Mark Gubas on Angels broadcaster. That'd be a fun card to have. I think Matt Stairs would be a good one, pinch hitter extraordinaire. For the Twinkies, we got. I mean, Kadire would fit here too, but I used him as the Rockies example. I mean, a Jason Kubel would be kind of fun. Thinking back, I mean, there's plenty. Like the Twins have plenty. I mean, heck, they could have a Jim Thome there. That's just that. We got the end. Let's go to these. We're just gonna continue this exercise because then I can throw different names in the thumbnail. For the Orioles, Miguel Tejada would be kind of cool. For the Red Sox, you could have a Manny if you wanted to. You could have a Veritek. Veritek could be a good caption card. For the Yankees, I think they have plenty, but if they want to continue down the weird trend, they could go A-Rod, even though I think he'd be a collection card and they wouldn't necessarily give out a free one that easy. A-Rod would be cool. I think at one point they had Tito Martinez. That'd be interesting, I guess. Cano, when he just retired, I think, unceremoniously, he could be interesting. You could go more of the pitchers, like a Chin-Ming Wong could have a card. I think that'd be cool to help international stuff. The Rays, I think like Carl Crawford, BJ Upton. I mean, Evan Longoria just retired. Is there an Evan? There is an Evan Longoria card. Is there? I have no idea. Evan Longoria is another one they could use. Carl Crawford, David Price, they could get his rights to. Scott Kazmir could be fun. I'm trying to say they of like random things. Of stuff like Carlos Pena was another one that I thought would have been fun. There's plenty of stuff there. For the Blue Jays, I mean, you could go. I think they just lost Joe Carter. Joe Carter would have been fun. Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion. Those are just two names off the top of my head. Pitching wise, I mean, we got Roy. That was probably the big one that they could have gone to. I mean, there's a lot of like fun cards, and I'm probably not even thinking a lot of some ones. Carlos Delgado's always a good one. Russell Martin been cool. He could also be used as a Dodger. all that fun stuff. And then for this one, I think they had him, but I always think of like Brian McCann and like Jeff Francoeur from like that era. I know we're probably not going to Andrew Jones back. That'd be a fun one. Those would be two fun ones. Pitching wise, I mean, Derek Lowe could be fun, heavy sinker. For the Marlins, again, it comes down to like these Hanley Ramirez, Jose Reyes, Josh Beckett, Josh Johnson, or just to name a few. For the Mets, I mean, same thing. It's like Jose Reyes. We got the one we should get, Jose Reyes. Heck, Carlos Beltran would be fun. He fits like 50,000 teams. Carlos Beltran could be fun. That'd be a good one. I'm just trying to think, like going through the info. Carlos Delgado, second base was Luis Castillo could be fun. Andy Chavez had a moment and all that fun stuff. The pitching side, we got Johan. Bartolo Colon could be one. For the Phillies, it's sort of the same thing. Like we got the big three. You got Jimmy, you got Ryan Howard, Chase Utley. I'm trying to think of the World Series team. Shane Victorino, we had a couple of cards back in the day. That could be a cool name to bring back. Raul Ibanez, Matt Stairs fits this thing. Sort of looking back here, Cliff Lee, Roy Oswalt could have a Philly card. I think he did at one point. Trying to think of like World Series team. They're short. Who's their third baseman? Was it Valdez? That's not overly exciting, I don't think. Outfield wise, I mean, Pat Burrell could be a fun one. I mean, I'm just ripping guys off the top of my dome here. The Nationals Expos, Ryan Zimmerman's one that comes to mind pretty quickly. Strasburg, he unceremoniously retired. I don't think he has a card yet. If not, it's buried somewhere. I mean, there's plenty of guys you could do. Like Alfonso Soriano got a card not too long ago from his time there. Like I said, Ryan Zimmerman should get a card. Howie Kendrick could have a card. He had some big moments there. Pitching wise, like I said, Zimmerman comes to mind. I think they had Bartolo Colon fits there. I mean, there's just so many. But ultimately, that's what the fans want. I think most people would say we want these things. My question is, how often does that actually sort of change things here? And this isn't necessarily a strike, like a hit at anyone, but I honestly ask this question because this is probably the team I would take into ranked. It's literally named ranked. Would I change some things up? Maybe. But the question I have here is like when you're looking at this stuff, there's certain cards we just see more of and sort of less of. Like realistically, could guys make a few changes? Yeah, I mean, some people might say, oh, I'd rather have, Brent Rooker instead of Yordan, or put Rooker on the bench or something like that. Like, there's always small things, but my question always remains is there's usually seems to be sort of a repeating sort of thing with teams. And I often wonder is when people say, we need more legends, my question is, would you really use them? Like, let's just say I didn't name a second baseman off the top of my dome. It's probably my fault. But let's say there's Jeff Kent. A lot of people probably use a Jeff Kent card. But let's say they also threw out there, like another legend, like Orlando Hudson card. Would you use an Orlando Hudson card? Probably not. So we talk about like the diversity and stuff like that. I get more excited for cards like Christian Moore than I necessarily do for like my 50,000th, old school legend card or something, right? And this isn't necessarily a shot at anyone, but my question remains is like if you're constantly asking and saying like, wait, what about this guy? What about this guy? What about that guy? Are you going to use him? And my main experience comes from other games. This isn't necessarily like an NBA or a sports game, but there's a reason why certain cards just get used and teams get used a lot more, because usually if you're trying to use a captain card, which helps a little bit with the diversity of the game and spicing things up, it kind of works. But at a certain point, you might stop using captain cards and focus on something else, because captain cards and overall, like I think I still have Luis Castillo. That's not necessarily because I'm using him, but it's just because I haven't swapped them out. Like Luis Castillo is what, an 80? It was an 88 for live series. 88. Like, do you want to use an 88 card at this point and put him at the bottom of your lineup to get a little bit of a boost? Possibly. You might. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen or not, but it's a possibility that you could do that and have a swell time. But I do question when people talk about, the never-ending list of legends here, as we go along here, and people talk about we haven't had a 99 Mickey Mantle and stuff. One of the things that I do think, and it would help, is maybe if they did sort of put in more mid-ish, middle. Like I said, Orlando Hudson and David Eckstein. Those guys didn't set the world on fire, but I think they'd be fun. They'd be niche. I would use them because, like I said, David Eckstein is my favorite player growing up. Like, having cards like that and having stuff like that, I think adds a little bit of diversity, adds a little bit of stuff. But the one thing I think we get to as players of this game, whether you're casual or disgusting, return to form, or someone who plays a lot, is I do think we kind of get in this thing of like, we want a lot more. But ultimately, when we see cards like, Chipper Jones, we know, oh my God, Chipper's going to be in my lineup. Or a Jeter card. A lot of people are going to use Jeter. Is he the best shortstop out there? Maybe. I don't know. Like, according to this Zach Neto card's slightly better than he is in, 5 categories? So it's about even. But, like, Rich Riley's got more power. You see what I'm sort of getting at here? Is that there's just certain cards where it just... We want diversity, but we want, like, different cards to be used. But at the same time, we know what cards are going to be used and good day in and day out. Right? Yeah. Now, to put a bow on this, do I think we need more legends? Yeah, I think we should. I think if we give more legends, it equals more rewards, it equals more cards we use, more moments, more programs, more stuff like that, so it doesn't feel like we're getting the same 5 cards over and over again. It comes down to smaller things like that. It's using the stuff we have to make things work, make things more fun. Fun cards that are exciting to use, like a powered Zach Neto as an Angel fan. Hey, I'm all effing for it. Give me that. Give me my exciting Willie Calhoun card. It's rough that a lot of these cards only come from something like Topps now, and they're usually very slow on the uptick, so you better be hoping that your team does something that's later in the year. But ultimately, that's the stuff I think most fans kind of want, is they want these cards that remember, like, oh, that fun game. That's why these cycle cards are really, really cool. And one, they look amazing. But I think we need to do a better job of just doing stuff like that. Now, that's just my opinion. You guys who are watching, the viewing audience, might have different ideas. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think that we kind of do end up in a weird cycle where it's just like it's the best cards that we have get played, not necessarily the things we like? Or do we need sort of more filler? I use that word mildly. Filler legends, like cards that are kind of in, that might be in that, like, like low 90s range at their max card. Or do you think you should say, F it, let's have some fun. Give me an Adam Kennedy who hit 3 home runs and give him 125 power against both sides of the plate. I don't know. There's plenty of stuff we could talk about, and there's plenty of discussion to be had. So let me know in the comments below and all that fun stuff. Don't forget to subscribe, like it. If you like it, dislike it. My name is Specs, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.